What kind of a retirement plan allows millions of people to lose 30 to 50% of their life savings just as they near retirement?
It's a society based on freedom and choice and personal responsibility. There are no guarantees.
It's important that people deal with someone to make sure to provide that guaranteed lifetime income.
Guaranteed lifetime income.
And now to our story.
Welcome to Playchecks for Life with Richard Ehrlich. Richard is the president and founder of the Secure Wealth Planning Group. Over the next 30 minutes, Richard will teach you how to turn your paychecks into retirement playchecks. And now, here's Richard Ehrlich.
Good morning, South Florida. This is Richard Ehrlich, your host for Playchecks for Life. Welcome to another show. I'm looking forward to sharing with you, as we do every week, some unique ideas and planning strategies that can help you enjoy the retirement you've worked so hard to achieve. And in the previous shows, we've talked about numerous different risks in retirement. But before we get started, I just wanted to thank once again all the folks that have been calling in and coming and meeting with us. The positive feedback is great. We're hearing things like, hey, how come I've never heard this type of planning strategy? And we're going to address that question most likely in next week's show. And you'll understand why a lot of the things that you're hearing here, you're not hearing from the mainstream financial sources that are out there. So definitely tune in next week. It's going to be a real eye-opener. Our main objective on this show is to help you separate myths and misconceptions and bring you factual data so you can make some smart decisions to ensure that you have a long and lasting retirement, and that retirement that you work so hard to achieve. We talk about 5 key fundamental areas to have a solid financial plan. Number 1 is advanced tax planning. 2 is having a solid income plan, i.e. the Playcheck for Life. Number 3 is having a solid and consistent investment portfolio, one that does not lose half its value every 5 to 6 years. Number 4 is creating an estate plan. And number 5 is legacy planning. I want to start out by saying that we know that there are many risks in retirement. We talked about many of them. Somebody could live a long life. That's a great thing. You got to make sure your money lasts as long as you do. Potentially, somebody could die early, right? What are the lasting effects there? Potentially a midlife disability, obviously market fluctuations, future taxes at uncertain rates, price inflation, long-term care issues. But today we're going to focus on inflation. And our goal is that if you could take a pencil and scratch off each one of these risks in retirement, you are going to have a solid, sound, peace of mind retirement that you work so hard to enjoy. So these are the areas that you need to focus on to ensure that you have a sound and safe retirement. If any of these ideas are of interest to you or you'd like to find out more information, give us a call at 561-362-2293 or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. In the first part of our show, we're going to talk about the importance of why you need to factor in inflation into any solid retirement plan. The second part of the show, we're going to talk about what the impact of not factoring in inflation is. The third part of the show, we're going to talk about what are some of the potential ideas and strategies that you can use to hedge against this risk in retirement. Okay, so let's just get started. Let's think about for a moment what exactly is inflation, right? We know that the cost of goods go up over time, and if the cost of goods go up over time, then that means that each year you're in retirement, your money has to keep up with the cost of goods. Now, we talked about in our risk of longevity, of living too long. We talked about the average length of somebody in retirement. If you make it to age 65, if you're a male, you have a 50% chance of getting to age 85. You have a 50% chance of reaching age 88 if you're a female. And those numbers go increasingly higher if you are married. So it's not uncommon for people to spend 20, 30, or even 40 years in retirement. So you need to make sure that your money keeps up with the cost of inflation. Well, let's talk about some facts about inflation, okay? Inflation can have a dramatic impact on your future purchasing power. All right, let's consider what $1,000 would buy in the future, okay? Let's assume that we want to retire 10 years from now, okay? $1,000 at a 4% inflation will only have the purchasing power of $555. In 20 years, that same $1,000 is only going to have a purchasing power of $456. So it is absolutely critical that you factor in inflation. If you'd like to find out more information about how this impacts your retirement plans, please give us a call at 561-362-2293 or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. Let me ask you folks, does anybody here remember how much the cost of a pair of Levi's jeans were in 1962? $5. That's the correct answer. In the year 2011, these are the data we have today, $60 and more. What about the price of gas? All right. Back in 1962, it was 31 cents a gallon. All right. Even today, with the lower cost of gas, it's still over $3 a gallon. Let's take an example of a movie ticket. 1962, the price of a movie ticket was 75 cents. Today, the price is $9 a ticket. And let's take a look at another example. What was the price of milk in 1962? 49 cents. Today, it's not uncommon to pay $4 for a gallon of milk. And finally, what was the price of an average house in 1962? Can you remember the price of your first house? $12,700. 2014, you're looking at least $250,000 for the average home. So why do we talk about this? Because if we don't factor in inflation, we're going to have big problems. And in the second part of our show, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. If you have any questions on this or you'd like to find out more information about how this impacts your retirement, please give us a call at 561-362-2293 or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. One of the things we focus on are creating inflation hedge strategies for retirement portfolios. So if you have any questions, please let us know. When we come back, we are going to talk about the impact of what these price increases mean to a retirement plan and for someone who did not prepare adequately for inflation in retirement. When we come back, we'll talk more about that.
You're listening to Playchecks for Life with Richard Ehrlich. Playchecks for Life. More in a minute.
Hey folks, I'm Richard Ehrlich. I'm from Secure Wealth Planning Group in Boca Raton. As much as we'd like to think we learn from the mistakes of others, the truth is most of us don't. We learn the hard way through our own personal trials and tribulations. Our experiences, good or bad, make us who we are. Here's what we know. We know that historically, the markets have had significant corrections every 5 to 6 years, and it has been 6 years since the last one in 2008. We also know that 80% of all market corrections occur between June and the end of October. Did your portfolio lose in 2008? Can you afford to make that same mistake twice? At Secure Wealth Planning Group, the investment strategies we use sidestep market downturns during the last 2 corrections. What's your strategy? Call us at 561-340-2667. That's 561-340-2667. Or visit us at securewpg.com. We don't need to keep making the same mistakes twice. You don't need to lose in order to gain.
Past performance is no guarantee of future results.
You're listening to Playchecks for Life with Richard Ehrlich.
Welcome back, South Florida. This is Richard Ehrlich, your host for Playchecks for Life. We've been talking about the risks in retirement, and today we've been focusing on a big one that is commonly known as the silent killer when it comes to your money, and that is the risk of inflation during and throughout your retirement. And we talked about how prices increase over time. I don't think that is a surprise to anybody. A recent article in the Wall Street Journal talks about how basic costs of living are squeezing families. What we have to really think about is the inflation factor that we have for Social Security does not factor in things like healthcare and energy. And I think that would be something pretty important when you focus in on your long-term retirement plans. So those are important areas that you need to focus on. If any of this rings true to you or you have any questions on this or you'd like more information, please give us a call at 561-362-2293 or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. All right, so let's consider what would happen if we did not plan properly and if we did not have an adequate inflation hedge strategy in our retirement portfolio. You know that if you put in $100,000 into the Standard & Poor's 500 at the end of 1999. At the end of 2010, you would have $103,500. Now, ladies and gentlemen, most people would say, well, I'm back to even. No, because after you factor in a modest 3% inflation, you have lost a third of your purchasing power. Let's imagine for a moment, 35 years ago, you would have said, I'm going to start focusing on my retirement. And you had a financial planner and you said, look, the planner asked you, how much money do you want to have in retirement? And you say, well, look, I'd like to replace 100% of my income. Well, let me ask you folks, how much was a good income in the mid-70s? If somebody was making $20,000, $25,000 a year, even $30,000 a year, that was a pretty good living, wasn't it? All right, let's fast forward. You're ready to retire. It's 2014. All right, great. You walk into your advisor's office. You said, okay, I'm ready to retire. Okay, how much can I get out of my retirement plan? Well, you could take out about $25,000 a year. And you're saying to yourself, well, $25,000 a year, how do you live on that? And exactly what would happen if you did not have an inflation strategy hedge. Now, you think about this for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know how inflation impacts you, think about the costs of items that we pay for today. We talk about the increase in cost in healthcare, prescription drugs, or what about just the basic things that we have? iPads and phones, these things cost $800 a piece. So it's important to have an inflation strategy, because if you don't, you know what's going to happen? You're going to wind up eating cat food out of a can. I don't think you want that. So you could have all the other risks in retirement taken care of, but if we don't make sure our money keeps up with at least the basic cost of living, that could be a big problem. Once again, if you have any questions or you'd like to learn more about how you can create an inflation strategy hedge for you and your retirement to make sure that this does not happen to you, give us a call at 561-362-2293 or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. When we come back, we're going to talk about what are some of the potential strategies that you can use. And I want you to think a little bit differently about how people look at retirement and inflation. And the idea here is for you to open up your mind and think about what you've heard and what you are hearing today. The idea is to be able to understand and separate all the misconceptions of what people think you need to do to achieve a solid inflation strategy.
To start turning your paychecks into Playchecks, call 561-362-2293. That's 561-362-2293. Or visit playchecksforlife.com. You're listening to Playchecks for Life with Richard Ehrlich. More in a minute.
Like millions of Americans, you probably have questions and concerns about how to generate predictable and reliable retirement income. Most people have life insurance and a variety of annuities and other financial products. However, with Playchecks for Life, you'll have a dependable monthly paycheck you can rely on for your entire retirement. That's right. Let us show you how a steady income for your retirement is possible. Call the Playchecks for Life hotline right now, 561-362-2293. That's 561-362-2293. Or visit www.playchecksforlife.com. Live your retirement the way you've always dreamed it should be with Playchecks for Life.
You're listening to Playchecks for Life with Richard Ehrlich.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Richard Ehrlich, your host for Playchecks for Life. We are talking about today the impact of inflation and what devastating effects that could have on you and your retirement. And ideally, we talked about when you have a retirement plan, you want to make sure that you have a certain amount of income. And this goes back to what we always talk about, the paycheck and hence the playcheck. We need to make sure that your money keeps up with the at least basic cost of living. So housing costs, factoring in future tax increases, healthcare costs, just basic costs that you need to keep your household running. But my guess, ladies and gentlemen, is you did not work your entire lives just to keep up with the basic cost of living. That is a fact. You need to consider that. But the idea is you worked so hard, or you were working so hard to achieve a certain lifestyle in retirement, whether that's spending time with children and grandchildren, whether that's taking up another hobby, whether that's traveling to places you've never been to, whether that's getting involved with philanthropic work, whatever it may be. However, if we're constantly looking behind us to make sure that our money keeps up with just the basic cost of living, that's not going to be fun. And so one of the things we're talking about today is how we can eliminate this devastating risk in retirement, which is called inflation rate risk. Once again, if you have any questions, give us a call at 561-362-2293 or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. All right, let's take a look at some of the ways people typically will try to eliminate the inflation rate risk in retirement. The reason why we can't just take all of our money and stick it in the bank is because if you make 0.5% on your money and then you have to pay tax on that, certainly that's not going to keep up with the cost of inflation. But my guess, ladies and gentlemen, is that right in the time you're about to retire or in retirement, you don't want to be taking on massive risk. And so people are stuck. They think, hey, I either have to keep my money in the bank, because I don't want to lose half my money there like I did in 2001, 2002, or in 2008. But at the same time, if I don't get a better rate of return than nothing in the bank, well, then how can I create an inflation hedge strategy? Let's think about this, ladies and gentlemen. I keep talking to you about week after week the concept of having a consistent and reliable paycheck. You need to absolutely make sure that your bills are paid every single month on the first of the month, no matter what is going on. And there's various sources of how you do that. You look at your guaranteed sources of income, whether that be Social Security, whether it be a pension, annuity income, whatever it may be. You have to create a plan to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's this monthly check we're going to get. However, most of those sources do not increase with the cost of inflation. And if they do, they're very minimal. So that's a great check to have, but that's certainly not going to assist you in keeping up with the cost of inflation during the 10, 20, 30, or even 40 years in retirement, because that paycheck that you're going to get every single month from those various sources of income are going to stay somewhat stagnant. So if you have any questions on any of this information, or you'd like to find out more how we might be able to help you, give us a call at 561-362-2293. or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. We'd be happy to sit down and take a look and analyze your overall retirement plan and see what best ways we can help you. So let's continue. We talk about most people say, okay, I'm stuck. I feel like there's only two ways I can go here. I can either get nothing on my money or I have to be very aggressive. So let's think about what people wind up doing. They'll typically go to a broker and they'll say, look, you need to be in the market because, the market tends to have better returns over the long term. And that's a fair statement. However, we talked about the order or the sequence of those returns, and just because the average rate of return, which does not help you when you're taking money out of a retirement portfolio, that's not going to help you when your portfolio goes down by half, like it did in 2008, in 2001, 2002. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that every 5 to 6 years, the market has a significant correction. We are in the 6th year of that cycle. So it is critical. So what you need to be considering is not the traditional buy and hold. I'm going to buy and hold stocks. Hopefully I get some dividends from them, and that's great, but you could be getting dividend from a company, but number one, you saw what happened in 2008. Even the blue chips decided to eliminate their dividends. And number two is, if you're getting a dividend and you lose half your money, well, that's not too reassuring, is it? So what you have to get away from is dealing with the broker mentality. The broker will tell you just buy and hold things, buy and hold. We're going to have a separate show on that next week about why that's so. But what you need to be thinking about is creating an income plan that has these guaranteed or consistent, reliable source of income to make sure that you can pay those bills every single month without worry. And the rest of your portfolio, you need to optimize it. You need to make sure you have what we put together for our clients, which is a low risk, low volatility, successful planning strategy. And how that's done is you need to look for fiduciary or independent-based advisors that will have access to institutional money management, but proactive. So these are not folks that are sitting there waiting for the market to fall. They are proactive in their approach, and their goal is one thing. Their goal is, how do we have what they call it as an absolute return? We don't care about the average rate of return in retirement. All you should be focusing is on, how can I ensure that I'm getting a consistent above average rate of return that will effectively offset the impact of inflation, while at the same time making sure that their focus is on always staying above zero, right? You want to always be staying positive. So imagine in 2008, let's say your portfolio did a 0% rate of return. Well, on the surface of that doesn't sound so great, right? But you didn't lose 40%. But so next year when the market eventually rebounds, which it did, guess what? Now you can have a consistent income plan. Now you can have various sources of where you can pull income from. And now when they have those better years, guess what? More income to take out. You have that guaranteed or reliable income from the first pile of money, that paycheck. And then what you can do is then tap into those other buckets of money where you can pull out when the returns are far exceed the cost of inflation. And now you can keep up with the cost of inflation. And there you have it. You have a solid, consistent plan that'll give you that peace of mind in retirement. Now remember, this is not done with traditional buy and hold stocks or buy and hold mutual funds. So it is critical to have access to fiduciary-based, proactive institutional money managers. If any of this sounds of interest to you, or you'd like to find out how you can create a solid inflation hedge for your retirement portfolio and create those paychecks and playchecks, give us a call at 561-362-2293, 561-362-2293, or visit us at playchecksforlife.com. When we come back, we are going to address our question of the week. It's a good one, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Playchecks for life.
Are you serious? You're joking me. Are you pulling my leg?
What was that name again?
Playchecks for life with Richard Ehrlich. More in a minute.
Hey folks, I'm Richard Ehrlich. I'm from Secure Wealth Planning Group in Boca Raton. You know, as much as we'd like to think we learn from the mistakes of others, the truth is most of us don't. We learn the hard way through our own personal trials and tribulations. Our experiences, good or bad, make us who we are. Folks, here's what we know. We know that historically, the markets have had significant corrections every 5 to 6 years, and it has been 6 years since the last one in 2008. We also know that 80% of all market corrections occur between June and the end of October. Did your portfolio lose in 2008? Can you afford to make that same mistake twice? At Secure Wealth Planning Group, the investment strategies we use sidestepped market downturns during the last 2 corrections. What's your strategy? Call us at 561-340-2667. That's 561-340-2667. Or visit us at securewpg.com. Folks, we don't need to keep making the same mistakes twice. You don't need to lose in order to gain.
Past performance is no guarantee of future results.
Retirement is a long time to go without a paycheck, maybe 20 or 30 years or longer, especially in the face of uncertain economic conditions. Do you have a sense of unease, a feeling that somehow you are not prepared? Are you afraid you may outlive your money? You're not alone. Many of our clients had that same concern. That's right, had, but not anymore. Now they all have Playchecks for Life. Let us show you how a steady income for your retirement is possible. Call the Playchecks for Life hotline right now, 561-362-2293. That's 561-362-2293. Or visit www.playchecksforlife.com. Live your retirement the way you've always dreamed it should be with Playchecks for Life.
You're listening to Playchecks for Life with Richard Ehrlich.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Richard Ehrlich, your host for Playchecks for Life. We've been talking about today one of the big risks in retirement, the one they call the silent killer, and that is the risk of inflation. In the first part of the show, we talked about how inflation eats away and erodes our purchasing power over time. In the second part of the show, we talked about what the impact that would be if you didn't have a strong plan. Consider the impact of inflation on a retirement portfolio. In the third part of our show, we talked about some of the potential strategies. We talked about not using buy and hold methods. Those are outdated. Talking about proactive money management and having sources of both reliable and consistent and guaranteed income for that paycheck every month to make sure it keeps up with the cost of living, and then optimizing the balance of your portfolio to create that playcheck, which will allow you to have your portfolio and your lifestyle and your income keep up with the cost of inflation, thereby having a peace of mind and reliable and enjoyable retirement. Let's get right to the question of the week. So the question of the week comes from Gail. She lives in Coral Springs. Gail is 64 years old. Gail, thank you for your question. Okay, Gail's question is, I have $884,000 in a regular IRA. Of the $884,000, $81,000 is after-tax contributions. Can you help me understand what is the taxable portion of converting the entire account to a Roth IRA? Sure, Gail. First, you must understand what the IRS calls the pro rata rule. The pro rata rule is simply the percentage of your after-tax contributions to tax-deferred contributions. So in order to calculate this, all you do is use your after-tax amount in the numerator, which would be your $81,000, and divide that by your total balance in your IRA, which is $884,000. Remember, you must add together all of your IRAs. So if you have more than one IRA out there, you've got to add them all together to calculate your taxable portion. Okay, for all of you that have questions, please give us a call or visit us at Playchecks for Life or email us at info@playchecksforlife.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this show. We look forward to connecting with you guys next week, where we're going to talk about why people are not hearing this information from their traditional financial sources. Tune in for that one. Remember, you didn't work your entire life for just a paycheck. You want to make sure that you have that paycheck, and you want to make sure you have that paycheck for life so you can enjoy a sound, fun, and fruitful retirement. And remember, you don't have to lose in order to gain. Make it a great week, South Florida. Take care.
Exciting, isn't it? To start turning your paychecks into playchecks, call 561-362-2293. That's 561-362-2293. Or visit playchecksforlife.com. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll be back again next week. Thanks for listening.